Hello, my name is Julia. I want to tell you about my journey of how I became mentally strong. It wasn't easy, but it changed my life forever. Sometimes life hits you like a storm, but that storm taught me how to build a shelter inside myself. I didn't become strong because I wanted to. I became strong because I had no choice. I still remember that day clearly. Even though it's been years, it was raining outside, soft, steady rain. The kind that makes the world look gray and quiet. I was sitting in my tiny apartment on the fifth floor, holding a cup of tea that had gone cold in my hands. I hadn't taken a single sip. I was just sitting, staring at the wall, listening to the sound of rain tapping against the windows. It had been a week since I lost my job, a week since my boss called me into his office, closed the door gently, and gave me that long, sad look. "Julia, you've been doing great work," he said, "but the company is going through some changes." You know how those conversations go. You already understand what's coming before they say the words. I nodded politely, trying to look brave, but I could feel something heavy drop in my chest. I walked out of that building with my head high, but the truth was I felt like a failure. And as if that wasn't enough, my best friend Sophia had just moved to another country for work. We had spent nearly every weekend together for the past 5 years, laughing, crying, supporting each other through everything. And now she was suddenly gone. Of course, she said we'd video call and text, and we did for the first few days. But the text slowed down. The calls became shorter. I felt like I was being left behind. That was the first time I felt truly alone. At first, I tried to distract myself. I kept telling myself it was fine. I cleaned the apartment top to bottom. I watched lighthearted shows on Netflix, scrolled endlessly through Instagram, liked posts of people smiling, traveling, achieving big things, pretending I wasn't falling apart inside. I even tried yoga videos, though it only did the first 5 minutes before lying flat on the mat, staring at the ceiling. But the silence always came back. I stopped sleeping properly. I would lie awake for hours at night, replaying old conversations, overthinking everything I had said or done in the past year. Did I work hard enough? Was I not good enough? Did I say something wrong to Sophia? Was this my fault? Some nights, I would cry into my pillow and then pretend everything was fine. In the morning, I smiled when I bumped into neighbors. I told my family I was doing great. But inside, I felt like a glass that had shattered, still trying to look whole, but held together by tiny cracks. One night, it all came crashing down. I was sitting on my bed, hugging my knees to my chest, scrolling through old photos on my phone. There was one of me and Sophia at the beach, laughing, another one at a team dinner at work. I looked happy. That girl looked like she had it all figured out. And then I started crying. Not the quiet tears I was used to. These were deep, shaking sobs. My body felt like it couldn't hold the sadness anymore. I dropped the phone and buried my face into the blanket. I cried until I couldn't breathe. I think that was the moment I realized I couldn't escape this anymore. I had to face it. The next morning, I woke up with puffy eyes and a headache. But something felt different. I was tired of pretending. I was tired of acting like I was okay. So I picked up an old notebook I had in my drawer and started to write. At first, it was messy, just words like, I feel useless, I miss her, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. But then it became more than that. I began writing every day, in the morning, at night, whenever the feelings came. I didn't try to sound smart. I didn't worry about grammar. I just wrote the truth, the ugly, honest truth. Writing helped me face the pain I had been hiding. I began to see my emotions clearly. I saw how much I blamed myself for things that weren't even in my control. I saw how I never gave myself permission to grieve. I never let myself fully feel the loss, the fear, the sadness. That was the problem I was afraid of feeling. I thought if I let the pain in, it would destroy me. But the truth was, not facing it was doing more damage. Little by little, I started sitting with my emotions instead of pushing them away. When I felt anxious, I would close my eyes, put my hand on my heart, and just breathe. I didn't tell myself, it's okay, don't feel that. I said, it's okay to feel this. When I felt sad, I let myself cry. I listened to soft music, sometimes even sad songs, and allowed the tears to flow. It was not weakness, it was healing. I also started talking to myself kindly. One night, I looked in the mirror and whispered, you're hurting, and that's okay, but you are strong, you are healing. That one sentence changed everything for me. Because healing didn't mean pretending to be strong. It meant giving myself space to feel everything and still get back up. I remember one afternoon, sitting on the balcony, watching the sun go down. The sky was orange, and the air was soft and cool. For the first time in weeks, I felt calm, not because the pain had gone, but because I was no longer running from it. That's when I learned something powerful. You become mentally strong not when you avoid the storm, but when you learn to walk through it, step by step, without losing yourself. From that moment on, I promised myself, no more fake smiles, no more escaping. I would face whatever came, fear, failure, sadness, and I would grow stronger through it. Mental strength doesn't mean feeling nothing. It means feeling everything and choosing to move forward anyway. If you're reading this and you're in that dark place, let me tell you, you are not weak for feeling broken. You are not a failure because you're hurting. You are human, and humans are allowed to feel. What matters is that you don't give up, that you let yourself face what's inside, because that's where true strength is born. After I started facing my emotions instead of running from them, I realized something important. Yes, it was good to let my feelings out. Yes, it was healing to cry and write and reflect. But if I wanted to become truly strong, mentally strong, I needed something more. I needed a system, a routine, a rhythm to carry me forward on the days when motivation disappeared. That's when I began to explore daily habits. Let me be honest with you, I was never a morning person. My days used to begin with chaos. I would wake up late, check my phone first thing, scroll through social media, see messages I hadn't replied to, and suddenly, I'd feel behind even before brushing my teeth. But one morning, I woke up and thought to myself, if my days are filled with noise and distraction, how will my mind ever feel calm? So I made a decision. The first habit I built was this: No phone for the first hour of the day. It was hard at first. My fingers itched to reach for it. What if someone messaged me? What if I missed something important? But the truth was most of the time, there was nothing urgent. And every time I avoided my phone in the morning, I noticed something. My mind felt quieter. In that quiet space, I started something new. I stood in front of the mirror and said one kind sentence to myself. Just one. Sometimes it was, "You are doing your best." Other times it was, "You're allowed to go slow." At first, it felt strange. I would smile awkwardly at my own reflection. But over time, those tiny words became part of my internal voice. The girl in the mirror, she was my friend now, not my critic. Another habit I added was movement, not intense workouts or fancy gym plans, just simple movement. Some mornings, I would stretch my arms and legs on my yoga mat. Other days, I would go for a walk around the neighborhood. I watched how the world woke up, people opening their shops, birds flying low, the sky slowly changing color. That fresh air felt like medicine. It reminded me that the world keeps going, and so can I. Then came journaling. Yes, I had already started writing during my darkest days, but now I created a structure. Every night before bed, I would open my notebook and write 3 things I was grateful for. Some days, it was big things. I got a freelance job today. I had a good phone call with mom. Other days, it was small and quiet. The tea tasted perfect. I saw a baby smiling in the park. I didn't cry today. Those little lines changed my perspective. Even when everything felt heavy, there was something to be thankful for. Gratitude became my anchor. Over time, I added more simple habits, drinking a glass of water right after waking up. Reading 1 page from a self-help book each morning. Setting just 1 goal for the day instead of 10. Taking slow, deep breaths when I felt anxious. Putting on calming music while cleaning. These may sound like small things, but for someone like me who had spent months stuck in mental fog, they were everything. Let me tell you about a day that proved to me how powerful habits can be. It was a Monday, and everything seemed to go wrong. I missed a deadline for a freelance project. My bank account was lower than expected. A message from someone close to me left me feeling hurt and misunderstood. All me would have spiraled into anxiety, overthinking for hours. But that day, I did something else. I closed my laptop. I made myself a cup of tea. I opened my journal and wrote. This day was hard, but I am still trying. Then I went for a walk and listened to my favorite music. When I came back, I felt grounded. I wasn't happy, but I wasn't broken either. That's when I realized something big. Mental strength isn't about avoiding bad days. It's about knowing what to do when they come. And my habits, they gave me the tools. They gave me structure when I felt scattered. They gave me calm when everything felt loud. They gave me hope on days when I had none. Of course, I wasn't perfect. Some days, I forgot to journal. Some days, I hit snooze 5 times. Some days, I just sat on the couch watching old movies. But here's the thing. Mental strength isn't about being perfect. It's about coming back to yourself even after you fall. I didn't punish myself for slipping. I just picked up where I left off the next day. I treated myself the way I would treat a friend, with patience and kindness. I also learned to track my progress, not through numbers or apps, but through feelings. I would ask myself simple questions. Did I feel peaceful today? Did I treat myself with love today? Did I choose something good for my mind today? If the answer was yes, even once, I called it a win. Over the months, these habits transformed me. I became more present. I smiled more. I stopped comparing myself to others so much. I stopped needing approval from people who didn't even know the real me. I began to build a stronger relationship with myself. And that is the real foundation of mental strength. Not how others see you, but how you see you. Each habit I built was like a brick in a house, a home I was creating inside my mind, a safe place where I could rest, grow, and come back to whenever the world felt too hard. I no longer felt like life was happening to me. I felt like I was participating in it. I was showing up not just for work or others, but for myself. And that made all the difference. So if you're listening to my story and thinking, I'm not disciplined, I always start and then give up, I don't know how to build habits, please know this: you don't need to change your whole life overnight. You don't need to do what everyone else is doing. You just need to start small and stay gentle with yourself. Pick one habit, just one. Stick to it for 3 days, then 5, then a week. And when you slip, begin again, because every time you come back to yourself, you grow stronger. And that's how I became mentally strong, not with big achievements or life-changing events, but with small, simple, daily habits that slowly, quietly rebuilt me from the inside out. If I had to name one of the hardest lessons I've ever learned, it would be this: saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a person who values your time, your energy, and your peace. For a long time, I didn't understand this. I used to say yes to everything and everyone. Yes to working late. Yes to helping people with things I didn't have time or energy for. Yes to going out when all I wanted was to stay home and rest. Why? Because I wanted to be liked. I wanted people to think I was kind, helpful, reliable, strong. I didn't want to disappoint anyone. But every time I said yes when I wanted to say no, a small part of me felt exhausted, sometimes even resentful. And over time, that exhaustion grew into burnout. I wasn't living my own life. I was living according to what everyone else needed from me. Let me take you back to the moment everything changed. It was a Friday evening. I had just finished a full week of freelance work. I was tired, mentally and physically. I had planned to take the evening for myself, maybe a hot shower, some reading, and an early bedtime. Then my phone rang. It was someone from my extended family. She needed help planning a party for her daughter's birthday and wanted me to come over and just help with a few things. My chest tightened. I had helped her many times before, and I knew from experience that a few things usually turned into hours of work. Still, my mouth opened, and I almost said what I always said: sure, I'll be there. But I paused. I looked around at the mess in my apartment, the laundry pile, the half-eaten lunch, my half-written journal entry. I looked at my tired face in the mirror. And for the first time in a long time, I said, I'm really sorry. I can't today. I'm taking some time for myself. There was a long silence on the other end. Then came a polite okay, no problem. I put down the phone. And at first, I felt guilty. So guilty. My mind began racing. Was that selfish? Will she think I don't care? What if I hurt her feelings? But then, something beautiful happened. I made a cup of tea. I sat on my couch. I put on my favorite music. And for the first time in months, I felt this deep, quiet joy, not because of something I did, but because of something I didn't do. I had protected my peace. I had chosen me. That night, I wrote something in my journal. If I keep saying yes to others, but no to myself, who's really living my life? From that day forward, I began practicing the art of saying no. It wasn't easy. At first, people were surprised. Some pushed back. What do you mean you can't? You've always helped before. Come on. It's just this one time. And I get it. When you're always the one who says yes, people grow used to that version of you. They don't mean harm, but they don't realize the cost. The cost was me. So I learned a few things that helped me say no without guilt. I reminded myself that my energy is limited. We only have so much to give each day. If I spend it all on others, I have nothing left for myself, and I can't pour from an empty cup. I understood that saying no to others is saying yes to myself. Yes to rest, yes to healing, yes to goals that matter to me. I practiced saying no politely but firmly. I didn't need to explain everything. I didn't need to make excuses. I could simply say, I won't be able to make at this time. Thanks for thinking of me, but I have other plans. I need some time to rest. So I'm going to sit this one out. Short, clear, kind. That was enough. Let me tell you about another time I had to say no even when it hurt. There was a friend I had known for years. We had shared laughs, late night talks, and supported each other through breakups and bad jobs. But lately, every time we met, I left feeling drained. She would talk about herself for hours. She never asked how I was doing, and when I tried to share something vulnerable, she would quickly change the subject. I ignored it at first, told myself she's just going through stuff. But after months, I started to feel invisible. One day, she messaged me to meet up, and I paused. I asked myself, does this friendship make me feel seen, safe, respected? The answer was no. So I didn't say yes. I replied with honesty. I've been feeling like our conversations haven't been balanced lately. I need a little space to focus on myself. She didn't respond kindly. She said I was being distant, that I was changing, and maybe I was. But I wasn't changing into someone cold. I was changing into someone who finally respected herself. Walking away from that friendship was painful, but it taught me something powerful. Not everyone will understand your boundaries. And that's okay. They're not meant for them. They're meant for you. I also started to apply this lesson in other parts of life. I stopped saying yes to job offers that didn't align with my goals. I stopped agreeing to social events that left me feeling empty. I stopped being available to people who only reached out when they needed something. And do you know what happened? Yes, I lost some people. Yes, some circles grew smaller. But the peace I found It was priceless. I had more time for myself. I had more energy for things that mattered: my writing, my health, my dreams. I began to feel proud not just of what I was doing, but of who I was becoming: mentally strong, emotionally honest, protective of my space. I still remember a quote I wrote on a sticky note and placed on my desk: "The only people who get upset when you set boundaries are the ones who benefited from you having none." Read that again, because that quote reminded me that guilt doesn't mean I'm wrong. Sometimes guilt is just a leftover feeling from old habits. But each time I chose myself without guilt, I became stronger. I became the kind of woman who could walk into a room with quiet confidence, not because I had everything figured out, but because I had finally learned how to take care of myself. If you're someone who struggles with saying no, someone who feels like you're always giving, always available, always saying yes because it's expected, please know this: you are allowed to rest. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to put yourself first. It doesn't make you selfish. It makes you whole. And being whole is what mental strength is all about.